to the GA for Justice. It's another Thursday in the 757 VA2 up and 2 down and all over the world. With your host, the one and only community activist, the Miss Georgia Allen.
Well, hello, hello, hello. It is Thursday. How
Yes,
about that?
yes,
And I am
indeed.
so excited to bring you the program today. Again, I am Georgia F. Allen with GA for Justice, and I've come to you every Thursday at 12 o'clock noon to just simply have a conversation because sometimes we forget how to talk to one another. So it's critically important that we do that. But before I talk about that, I want to just again always thank Mr. Henderson Vaughn, who opens up the airwaves so that we are able to have these conversations with our community, invite guests, and share what is taking place throughout our local community, but also share what's going on sometimes on a national level. Um, with that being said, we always call him the Captain 85 or C85, the dream maker. And he's the one that just makes sure that throughout our community, there's always a place where we can have a voice, where we can talk about issues, we can talk about concerns, we can address what's taking place here. Of course, I'm here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Some of you guys are around the country, but it's critically important that we're able to do that. So, with that being said, as always, I always like to say, we like to have a conversation for information, a conversation for correction when necessary, and a conversation for transformation. And yes, we will be having a guest, but our guests will come on later on. They are not going to come on at the beginning of the show today. And so I will do that introduction just as they come into the studio. So, also, with that being said, today's show is a show that is about um, unity. Okay, it's critically important that we focus on unifying our community, that we're splintered all over the place. We're splintered on a local level. We are splintered on a national level. We are splintered in our families. We're splintered all over the place. And so this month, as I did last year, this year, as I did last year, I kind of centered my first 9 months on the Kwanzaa principles. So Umoja, which is unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, the community, the nation, and the race. And this is very, very important because we're in a situation where everybody wants to be the chief, and everyone wants to be front and center on different issues, and they want to be the one that their face is to the public all the time. And sometimes we need to humble ourselves, and sometimes we need to step back and look at what is it that we want to achieve. And again, today's program really is going to be focusing more on our youth because that is critical. Our youth is our most valuable resource. It is critically important that we make sure that we keep our young people front and center. Uh, Over the years, we have lost generations of young people. We've lost them through gun violence. We've lost them where they're incarcerated in our prison system. We've lost them because they have gone off and got involved in various activities that have not been beneficial. Anything from getting involved in the drugs area. And when our young people were involved in drugs, they were locked up. When along come opioid, it's a medical issue. It's a medical issue. So we
Unbelievable.
see that we don't have the same um, opportunities, or we are not seen in the same light as other people are seen, because when someone writes all the laws, controls all your institutions, control your military, control everything, your businesses, and when they're controlling everything, then the system is going to operate in that group's best interest. That's all there is to it. The system will operate in the best interest of those who control the system. Therefore, if we are not controlling the system, then we're subjected to whatever that system produces. And so I want us to begin to control our communities and create our own systems so that we're not hampered by what scripture says, which is that system of things, that system of things that is not for us. And so today I want to kind of talk a little bit about our young people and how they are our most valuable resource. And part of what has taken place over time is that we were so busy buying and spending that we spent very little time and effort in terms of long-term investments in our young people. We were in overdrive, buying the next pair of sneakers, buying the next outfit. Every time there's a new fad that comes on the market, we are making sure that our young people and many of the adults, oh man, have you seen this new piece of technology? Or man, have you seen this? Or have you seen that? And we have spent so much time buying and very little time investing. And our young people need us to change that and begin to invest more and buy less, because no child need 100 pairs of sneakers. They don't need 100 pairs of sneakers. They don't need every single solitary Jordan that comes on the market. They can have some of them, or one of them, or two of them, or three of them, but they don't need 7, 10, 15, or 20 different Jordans. They can only wear one pair of shoes at a time. That's it. So it's not necessary for them to have that many Jordans. There's only 52 weeks out of a year. So why are they sitting there with 100 pair of Jordans? There's only 12 months in a year.
Hello.
There's only 4 quarters in a year. So if you really want to break it down, you can literally say, okay, maybe I'll just give them 12 pair of sneakers throughout the year. They can only wear one pair at a time. They can switch them off, but they can only wear one pair at a time. They haven't seen anybody with 4 feet yet. Haven't seen anybody with 4 feet yet. Yeah, okay. Sometimes we have people that have some medical issues that they may have a few extra toes or whatever, but I ain't seen nobody with 2, 3 other than with more than 2 feet. How about you, Henderson? You seen anybody with more than 2 feet?
Not me. Don't want to see them either.
So I want to understand, if we're not like an elephant or a dog or a kitty cat with 4 feet, why do we need 100 pairs of sneakers? Why do we need that many pair? And we got to get the Adidas, and we have to get the Jordans, and we have to get the Nikes, and we have to get all of these different pairs of sneakers. We got to make sure that we have some Steph, and we got to make sure that we have some LeBron, and we have to make sure that we have all of these different people's sneakers.
Yeah,
and most of the people who purchase those sneakers do not have one stock in any of those industries that they're purchasing into.
Hello.
Not one. Not one stock. And if you're going to go out and buy these things, every time you make a purchase, you should also be making an investment.
Yeah.
So buy stock in that same company that you're buying the sneakers from, so that as you're buying your sneakers, you're also investing in your own business and earning money from that investment. So that gives you investment value. It also helps your children as well. So this is critically important. Our youth is so important. And if we're doing what we need to do, we can unify our community and make us that much stronger. But if we don't, we're going to continue to get weaker and weaker and weaker. And that is detrimental to our children. That is detrimental to those who are coming behind us. It is not helpful, it's harmful to them. So I'm suggesting today that we turn this train around. I'm suggesting today that we change the tracks that we're on, because the track we're on right now, we headed in the wrong direction, and we're headed to the wrong destination. So let's change our direction and change the destination of where we want to go. Because if we don't, then our children are going to be the losers in all of this. Our children are going to be the loser. And I know if our forefathers with a lot less education could do all the things that they were able to do, when they were told that they could not read or write, they weren't allowed. Laws were on the books to prevent them from reading and writing. And they were interested enough in their well-being and in the well-being of themselves, their family, their community, that if they had to sneak to learn, they did that. Now we have a lot of this available to our young people, and they don't want to learn. And I understand their frustration. Being in a institution that doesn't genuinely care about you, could care less whether you're successful or not. They frustrate you with their attitudes. They frustrate you with trying to make you learn this rote learning when that is not the way that you are able to learn successfully. I mean, I was listening to Clarence Khalil the other morning, and he was sharing how even though the school system always want to try to put our young people in the programs that are, the negative programs, he said, what we did is we took them down and had them to take the test to go in the military. He said many of those young people scored in the top percentile. So it's obviously not that they're not smart or knowledgeable, because if they can take the federal tests and they can take the test to go into the military and score in the high percentile, it's not that they don't know. It is how they are being taught. Because obviously they are retaining enough information that they can sit down and be able to be successful in taking these various tests. So when they continue to put our children in these classes that or these schools, such as they gave it a nice name, they call it the Renaissance Center, but we all know that that is not the gifted center. Okay. We know that is not the intent of that center. That is intent for children with behavioral problems or what have you. And so we have an obligation as mom, dad, grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, and uncles to help turn this system of things around. We have that obligation to do that. It is not up to the educators to do that. They can do some of it, but at the end of the day, it is our job to champion and advocate for our own children. That's our job. Because if we don't do it, we can't expect somebody to do that for us. And even though public school, we're paying into the tax system and we should get a great education or whatever. And I hear you. I hear you. Okay. I hear you. But if you want to have a strong and a better outcome, you need to be united. You need to follow the principles of Kwanzaa, Umoja, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, in the community, in the nation, and in the race. It's up to us. It's up to us to make sure that we do that, because if we don't, we're going to continue to lose generation after generation after generation. And we're not just losing young people. We just lost a head of a college, suicide, a woman, because she was being bullied in her university. She was being bullied at the same time that Mrs. Gay from Harvard, who was the president, was being dismissed from Harvard. She ultimately resigned, but the pressure was on because we have a society that want Black people to be perfect. Everybody else can be whatever.
Right.
But if they feel, if these institutions that are set and designed feel like we have not done everything perfectly, they will hammer and use media, both social media as well as our news broadcasts, and the news media will go along with that.
Hello.
They go along with that, and they promote that. You know, she was trying to explain to the Congress about, you know, how the students should feel about the Jewish community. And everything that came out of her mouth, they automatically assumed that she was anti. No, she's saying that people have an opportunity to speak. And we don't have to necessarily like everything they say or how they say everything, but we may not want to stifle conversation. Okay. And so we have to be very, very careful when it comes to our young people as we're educating them and developing them and advocating for them. Because when Miss Gay was being attacked, this other lady in another university was also being attacked. Miss Gay ended up resigning. The other lady took her life. So here we are with a bright, well-educated, almost superstar. But the tragedy is the power of these forces that continue to press and bang at us day in and day out places people in a position where they feel that they have no other options. And that's not a good place to be in.
Yeah.
That is not a good place to be in. And we should be embarrassed that we have this person that felt that she had no other options. We should be ashamed of ourselves because our community should have been there for her. It should have been so united, so strong, that she should have been able to go anywhere to one of our local faith-based places. Somewhere this lady should have been able to go without having to take her life. And we hear over and over again, our young people are doing the very same thing.
Yeah.
They're taking their lives at very young ages. And this is not helpful because, see, that's the knowledge that we don't ever get to mature and build upon that. That's that knowledge of this young person who could maybe discover the cure for some of these diseases, they don't ever get to that point where they can take advantage of that because of how they are being treated in their school system, or how they are being treated at home, or how they are being treated in their neighborhood, or what have you. And so we have to continue to come together in unity. We have to continue to maintain a strong community, because if we don't, we're going to all lose, all of us, every last one of us. So again, a little bit about the NAACP and the various programs that the NAACP offers as we're waiting for our guests to come. Okay. The NAACP, of course, has been in existence since 1909, and it was structured as a leadership organization where we would develop leaders, and we began at very, very young age. Everybody from our community can become a member of the NAACP from birth to death. When they're born, they can be a member of the Junior Youth Council. Anybody under 13 years old to 0 year, they can be a member of the Junior Youth Council, and getting that development and getting that information, and hearing about civil rights. But also we are there to listen to them about their ideas, their concerns, what they would like to see take place. Okay, so the Youth Council is a leadership organization where we're looking for our young people to provide them with a place of refuge, a place to develop their skills, a place where they can do public speaking, a place where they can ask questions, a place where they can have a listening ear. So those are our youth under 13. Then we have youth councils from 13 to 18. Same with our high school youth councils. We can also have youth councils in our high schools from age 13 until 18. And then after that, we have our college chapters. Now, persons choose not to go off to college and become a member of the college chapter. They can become a member of the young adult chapter until they're 25 years old, because we consider our young people youth until age 25 in the NAACP. And then at that point in time, they can join the branch, the adult branch. Now, many can join sooner if they feel like the young adult branch is not what they want to do. They can join the adult branch of their local community, and we generally have an NAACP branch in every city. And if they're not able to have a branch in a particular city, they tend to combine with the next city. Okay, looks like our guest is arriving. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. So, but anyway, with the NAACP, the objective is develop youth leaders to become the next generation of adult leaders, to become that group of people who may run for political office, who may own certain types of businesses, who may run various corporations. So we want our young people everywhere. But in order for them to be everywhere, we have some work that we have to do. We can't expect them to snap their fingers and be in all of these places unless we're giving them the tools and working along with them so that we can help them to develop their skill sets, to connect them with persons who can assist them. One of the things that I watched in some of the other communities, when their young people grow up, they go to work and shadow persons in these other businesses. So if the family just finds out that their child is interested in architecture, they said, let me call up my buddy. Hey, You own an architect firm? I got a son. Can he come and shadow you? Now, one of the things about these young people, they're not looking to get paid, they're looking to gain knowledge. So they're more than willing to be a volunteer in those organizations, in those businesses, so that they can gain the knowledge that they need so they can turn around and open up their own architect firm. So that's another thing that we have to train and teach our children more is everything is not about a paycheck. Everything is not about a paycheck. Sometimes you want to be able to go to places where you can get access to information that you would never be able to get access to. So we're going to have to start looking at things differently. Again, we need to turn this train around. We also need to get it off of that track that is on those tracks that it's on, because that destination, it's not the right destination for our people. All righty. Okay, well, we had our guest. She is backstage right now, Bernita Richardson. I think you have a photo. All right. Well, hello, Bernita. We want to thank you for joining us today. Bernita has been with the NAACP since she was about 7 years old. So she's a lifelong member of the NAACP. She was fortunate enough to have parents who were actively involved with the work of the NAACP while she was growing up. She had the opportunity to attend national conventions, state conventions, regional conventions, so that she had firsthand knowledge of many of the issues that were taking place in our community with regards to the various types of injustices that were plaguing us as a people, but also specifically the area where she grew up. She later, at the age of 13, became a junior life member, which I just spoke about. And she then went on to attend Hampton University and get involved in Hampton University in the NAACP there. She attended rallies, marches, and spoke up about injustice. And then later on, Bernita, she lived in Virginia Beach, but she was not yet a member of the local chapter. So she joined our local chapter, became the secretary, and we were having a tough time trying to find somebody to work with our young people. So she went on to volunteer to work with the AXO program and to chair that program. She also, as a young person, participated in the AXO program in the oratory enrichment back in the early 90s. So she has been a long-time member of the NAACP. And we are so excited to have her to join us today to talk about AXO, which is the Afro Cultural, Technological, Scientific Olympics, or in other words, the Olympics of the mind. With that being said, we welcome Bernita to the show.
Good day. Good day. It's afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Miss Georgia?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad you're able to join us. I know you got one of those busy schedules. You're everywhere.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And
Everywhere.
before we go on, I just want to say when Dr. Gay was speaking before the Senate, she had legal representation that told her what she could and could not say. And so, how do we hold her accountable? Because I was listening while I was in the car driving. But how do we hold her accountable for saying and doing what her legal counsel told her to do in the position? It's crazy to me. And I agree. We should have been more vigilant in speaking up on her behalf.
Absolutely. And here again, it gets back to unity. If we were united in our community, we would be able to press the button and folks would be on the ground. They would be there at the president's office at Harvard. They would be there at the board of directors or the whatever they call them, because each group has a different term that they call them.
Board of trustees. Yes,
board of trustees and all of that. But there should have been an outcry outcry from all of the communities. And I get a little annoyed sometimes when they think that the NAACP is the only people that's supposed to fight for justice. Okay. If it's affecting you, you need to fight for justice too. So don't sit here and
Exactly.
we done carried this whole country on our back since 1909.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
remind
Yes,
people of
ma'am.
that. Okay. And they
Mm-hmm.
benefit from all the hard work,
Greatly.
and many of them greater than we benefit ourselves.
Yes,
So, with
ma'am.
that being said, you don't want me to get off on a tangent because that really annoys me when people are always asking us, well, I need to talk to you about this and I need to talk to you about that. Well, what you doing? What you
Mm-hmm.
doing?
Mm-hmm. Tell me what you've done with
Yes.
this program before you're bringing it up to me. What
Right.
actions have you taken? Don't
Absolutely.
I think often we sit around and we wait for
Mm-hmm.
others to be the actors or the activists
Mm-hmm.
when it's affecting us. We all have to step in and be that voice that will fight for change or even say that change needs to occur.
Absolutely. Well, since you are here and we're going to talk a little bit about AXO, tell us a little bit about what is going on in Virginia Beach. I think you may have gone to some training, so I'm sure you're
Yes,
excited because I know every time I
ma'am.
go to training, I'm like excited.
I am so excited. I just, I'm exuberant. I think I need a bigger word than just excited. I have the opportunity to see some of the students who have already joined the Virginia Beach AXO committee present their pieces. So there was one who had written a short story. It's phenomenal. One who is doing a soliloquy. He's doing a speech on family dynamics. And it's so wonderful to see youth using their passions and their hearts and desires, to make the change that we talked about. And some of them just need a voice. Our family structures are very varied. And so there are extremely talented people who sometimes don't necessarily come from families who push them forward like I did. And
Mhm.
so I want to be, the one who helps each and every one reach their potential. I think it's our job to step in and be that for others. So I am super excited. I am so pleased with the pieces that I got to see, and there's some that I didn't. I am, because I work in the sciences, I am looking forward to working with those who may be a part of the biology or microbiology part of AXO, but it's a vast program. And I mean, I just get excited about youth being able to use their voice in any situation because so often in
Mhm.
public spaces, their voices are taken from them, and not just as youth, but as adults.
Absolutely.
African Americans' voices are stolen, claimed as their own, or disvalidated. You got
Yes.
me started already, Miss Georgia. Now talking
Yes.
about Dr.
Yes.
Gray,
And
I'm
that is
fired up.
so important. And
Hmm.
share with the audience a little bit about the different areas that the students can go in. I'm not talking about the detail area, but the main topic area that our students can be a part of. And then inside of the main topics, there are individual areas that they can
Yes,
be a part
ma'am.
of as well.
So our main topics are going to be our STEM, our performing arts, humanities, the visual arts, business, and now culinary.
All right. So
And I'm
we're
looking
looking for
forward
young
to having
entrepreneurs. If I hear you correctly, did I hear you correctly? We're looking
absolutely.
for
Yes, we are. We are looking for young entrepreneurs, young dreamers, young visionaries. Yes, we are. Creatives. We're looking for the young creatives. And we
absolutely.
want to cultivate and help them build that into whatever it is they want to.
And the reason why I focus on entrepreneurship first
Hmm.
is because we have heard for years, go to school, work hard, get a good job, And there is nothing wrong with going to work. Okay. Absolutely
Mhm.
nothing. But what they did not say is don't use that job as your only source of income. But in fact, broaden that knowledge, use that job so that you now have money to invest in yourself, whether that be a business, whether that be in the stock market, whether that be into uh, one of the various money market systems that they have out there. But you want to use that job for more than just a paycheck. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Oh, and see, this is what I was talking about when I say family support. So, Miss Georgia, I hadn't had the opportunity to share with you, but my grandfather was a farmer and then opened a sausage company in North Carolina. And when I was 16, I got the I'm going to say opportunity. It wasn't fun.
Right.
But I worked for him the summer of my 16th year.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about business and how it was run and all the things that have to go into it. And I also learned about that public face that you put on when you're out there. So I got to see that entrepreneur. My grandmother, my mom's mother, also had a Boone's Market, a grocery store in her
Mm-hmm.
town. So I got to see her own her business and work after she worked for UA, the Unified Fabric Workers or Clothers,
Okay,
something
so
like
one of
that.
the unions.
One of the Yeah, right. She was a
Yes.
union rep after
Mm-hmm.
having worked in the factory. And then she opened up a grocery store when I was younger. And so even at the age of 13, I would work there by myself on Sundays because no alcohol was being sold. And so I
Mm-hmm.
could.
Right.
So I had that opportunity. And then about the time I turned 14, my mother opened a women's boutique
Mm-hmm.
in my hometown after she had worked for the government for several years. Um, and so, I got to see, what it was like to have these family businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So even, growing up, I always knew at some point I would own something.
Right.
And worked hard. Even my son is 23. He now has a business where he does sports predictions and people pay him for that information.
Sports
Um,
predictions.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. At 23 and a senior at Hampton University, he
Awesome.
is working that business hard. When
Mm-hmm.
he was younger, he had a business where he would make these little tinker toys, like kids alarms for their rooms so they could put on their doors, and he used to sell them to his friends and things like that. So the entrepreneurial spirit was passed down to him, having seen my mom's store. I mean, I've sold Mary Kay, I've had a telecommunications business, I have a travel business. um, I have, done quite a few things as far as owning things because I understand the importance and the independence that working for yourself gives you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And see, that's so very important. You know, I was one of those people. I left from one job to the next. Fortunately, I at least had money in my 401k so that I could roll it over into an annuity. So as
Yes,
I went from one place to the other, I did have the wherewithal because I had a friend who was in the financial services industry. And so when I leave one place, I roll it over into the next one. I leave another one, I roll that over into it. And
absolutely.
everything.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I'd be starving to death because Social Security does not pay me enough money
No,
to
ma'am. No,
live.
ma'am.
And
And
I
I
say,
didn't, I didn't realize
mhm,
when my mom closed her store as the
mhm.
recession came in about 2008, she
Okay.
ran for office and became
Mhm.
the treasurer of the county. And it was so interesting as I'm helping her fill out paperwork. Okay, really, I was just being nosy because she's always been one, hey, come sit, look at me, watch me do this. So
Right.
when it's your turn, you'll know how.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing it. And I found out at that point that she had saved and left all of the money that she had put aside while she was working for the government right there. And
Right.
so now, as she comes back in at a higher rate,
Mm-hmm.
being the treasurer of the county, it
Mm-hmm.
boosted up her retirement,
Mm-hmm.
that she really had not put into while she was running her business.
Right. Right. And that's important. That is
Carryover matters.
critically important. Critically important. And so, to those of you who are listening today, have more than one source of income.
Yes, ma'am.
Have more than one source. Teach our children to have more than one source of income,
Mhm.
because that is going to be so important as you hear politicians talk about whether or not we should continue with Social Security. And if we do, how much that should be. And should we pay this? And should they have access to medical care? And should they have
Mhm. Absolutely.
access to, all of these various things, even though the people have paid into it, the politicians are trying to figure out, well, I don't want to cut rich people money, but I have
Right.
no problem cutting hardworking American citizens money.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's important.
It
That's
is
important, folks.
extremely.
So anyway, you heard her say that AXO has STEM, it has performing arts, it has humanities, it also has the visual arts, business, and culinary. So it has a broad spectrum. So if your children are interested in any of these areas, or if they're interested in joining the NAACP, they join under the Youth Council and they can participate in the AXO program. And we like to make sure that we are one together. So the youth, whether they're in AXO or whether they're in the Youth Council, they are sisters and brothers. This, just like we're talking about maintain unity, we want to maintain unity with our young people as well. Because if we have one group thinking that they're better than the other, then now we got another a problem that we've created. So I'm going to pause here for a moment. I'm going to
Before
do a
you
quick
pause, Miss
announcement.
Georgia, before
Huh?
you pause, that
Okay.
was one of the main things at this last national convention. And it was great to see the youth sitting in the sessions where the amendments were happening,
Mm-hmm.
because in the past, we weren't allowed to do, well, when I was younger, which was
Uh-huh.
just a few years ago, we were we weren't allowed to sit in those sessions. So
Mm-hmm.
they are making it a point to make sure that the youth is involved and that
Mm-hmm.
they have their voice. So even when we had our regional meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and the youth met just before us, they were invited to come back and sit with us
Mm-hmm.
to learn how we do things and make sure that they run the youth portion correctly, but also to find out how the things we were doing could be used to benefit and help them.
Exactly. And see, that is so very important. See,
Mhm.
that's why I talk about, and you hear me all the time, if we are a leadership organization, we have a responsibility to develop youth
Leader.
leaders. It's our
Yes, ma'am.
responsibility. So I'm going to pause a quick moment because we got an exciting event that's coming up. It is called
Yes.
the Virginia Beach Branch NAACP Annual Emancipation Proclamation Jubilee Day Commemoration Event. It is going to be held on Sunday, January the 28th, 2024, at New Light Full Gospel Baptist Church, located at 5549 Indian River Road in the city of Virginia Beach. And the theme this year is keep your eyes on the prize. And our prize is our young people. And that is the focus this year. We have two excellent keynote speakers in Dr. Veronica Coleman, who's with New Jerusalem Ministries, and then Reverend Vanessa Copeland, who is with Mount Zion AME Church. So we want you to come out, join us. As you can see, it's an event that is open. It is a church event, so you can wear your fancy hat if you want, but please don't be so fancy that people can't see around your hat.
Well, you said fancy.
But anyway, we look forward to seeing you. I think you will enjoy the event. I'm looking forward to the two guest speakers because I know both of them and they're both excellent speakers. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk a little bit about AXO and some of the programs and what is getting you excited. I know you said that the performing arts, the vocals, and everything. So let's talk a little bit about some of the STEM programs, because a lot of times people don't realize how many pieces are part of STEM. You know, they think of math and science, but they don't think about some of the other things.
Like architecture.
Yes.
That was a surprise to me. Mm-hmm. And so I know that there is a student in our area who is interested in the architecture, and we have found so what AXO does is we find mentors for them within the direction they want to go. And they get to sit with them and glean knowledge from them at an early age, to help them go and grow for the future. So we have 2 architectural firms that have agreed to mentor the young woman who is interested in architecture, biology, microbiology, chemistry and biochemistry, the earth sciences and space sciences. Are also avenues, of course, computer science, and as we all know, now the word slips my mind, but cybersecurity is a major push right now, because all of these people have found all of these ways, as I just got a scam text from a pretend bank earlier today, and I was like, this doesn't even look right. So I called my bank, and of course it was a scam, but they're just waiting on someone to just clickbait,
right,
and fall into it. But as well as engineering, mathematics, medicine and science, physics, and sustainable design, where the teams will take their knowledge of sustainable and equitable neighborhood planning with architectural design, and even create mock proposals for real developmental projects. So, that's major. Those are the things that, colleges are looking for, as far as offering scholarships and that thing. So I'm just so excited. Can I just say
that is exciting. And the wonderful thing is, now that we have so much technology, we can blend and go online and find places that we can find, small groups, larger groups that are doing some of the same things, and that our children can tie into that.
Yes,
and everything. So that's the thing that's so exciting for me, because planning, whether it's neighborhood planning, every city needs somebody in the planning department, every single solitary city, because they're planning for neighborhood growth. They're planning for some type of development of some sort, whether they're developing and placing buildings that are used for companies, or whether they're used for hotel, or whether they're used for shopping.
Yes.
All of that is nothing more than development. All of that is nothing more than planning.
And the roads. I sat in on a discussion recently about the construction for the roads. And of course, I feel like all my life they've been working on this tunnel um, coming from Hampton to the south side, from the peninsula to the south side,
Mhm.
and how long, those projects take. And what the discussion was basically saying is by the time they complete the construction, the traffic pattern will overwhelm that,
Right.
and the relief that we were looking for 10 years ago when they started won't happen, because at that point they'll need to start planning for the next few years. So it was
Absolutely.
interesting. Hmm.
And and one of the things I think our young people may be able to help solve this problem is we are tied to our vehicles. And I'm imagining, I'm a visionary, so I'm imagining um, some type of electric car that takes us across the tunnel, and we're able to have a number of people in it instead of these one person per car. That's our
Hmm.
problem. Everything
Hmm.
that we do is almost 90% one person per vehicle.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that
Public
creates
transportation
a jam log.
here
Hmm.
is not as advanced as it should or could be.
Right.
I was excited when the tide came,
Hmm.
because I was going to be able to get on at Newtown Road and ride it straight down. I was at EVMS,
Hmm.
and ride the tide to EVMS and miss that traffic,
Right.
going in. So, of course, the expected date for completion was extended, and I never got the opportunity to utilize that as a part uh, of my transportation while I was matriculating through Eastern Virginia
Hmm.
Medical School. But, any opportunity I get, even now, I will park my car and jump on the tide and go to MacArthur, or, if I'm going to a festival at Town Point, I'm riding the tide in.
Me too.
Um, and I just love it.
I do too. I love the Tide. I've gone there for the baseball game. I,
Hmm.
I forgot what they're calling them these days. I don't remember what they used to be, the Tide Water Ties back in the day,
Norfolk
and
Tides.
Norfolk Ties and all of
Mhm,
this. So I
mhm.
guess they're Norfolk Ties. I'm not even
Yes,
sure
yes,
anymore because they changed their name and they got this little green thing that runs around now that's supposed to be a mascot. And I got confused with that because I was like, where did the green guy come from? Because everything before was little big head dude,
right,
that looked
right.
like a
Mhm,
baseball. And then all
mhm,
of a sudden we got
yeah,
this little green thing running around. I'm like, what's that?
and they did a great job this last, season. I'm not a
Hmm.
baseball fan, but I do go to Tides games,
Right.
and, I think they won something, not the pennant, but whatever you can win on that level, I think they won that.
Right. And I enjoy going to the Tides game.
Mhm,
It's a nice gathering and everything. And so, those are the type of things like you. I love having that Newtown Road park and ride. I can hop up there. I can
mhm,
go downtown Norfolk. And the other thing that I like about it is if I'd like to have a drink, I can feel very comfortable having a drink,
mhm.
get on the tide, come back home. By the time I get back with what I've eaten and everything is pretty much out my system, I'm
Yes, ma'am.
all of 7 minutes from the tide in my house.
Yes,
I can
ma'am.
feel very comfortable in that versus, well, no, because I got my vehicle all the way
Mhm,
downtown
mhm,
Norfolk, and how am I going to
mhm.
get back home? But
Yes, ma'am.
anyway, we're coming up to the close. This was fast, but anyway, I want you to
It
do some
was.
final comments. I know it's like almost the end, and so do some final comments, and then I'll do some closing comments and everything. But I do appreciate you coming on. I hope this has been beneficial and helpful to the community. But if your children are not part of the NAACP, they're not part of AXO or the Youth Council, this is your opportunity. Here's Bernita Richardson, who is head of our AXO program for Virginia Beach.
Yes. So I am here with my arms open wide, waiting for our youth to come through so that, we can get you all set up to take over for Miss Georgia and I when we're ready to move forward, because we do have to have people in place for that. I can't think of an interest that you could have that AXA won't address in some form of fashion. So just because you didn't hear me say what your interest may be, please don't think that it's not covered by AXA. We just hit the top crust of it. Ms. Georgia was talking about entrepreneurship that falls under business. And there are business owners and business moguls who are ready and here to help you develop. Maybe you have a thought. I have a friend who thought about creating an automatic umbrella back before they were created. And she was in business school at the time. And she said about the time she graduated, the first mechanical umbrella where you press the button and it pops up was created. And she was like, I had that thought, 4 years prior, but did not move on it. So right. I know that our minds are constantly coming up with great new ways and things that we can do and create that haven't been created. I mean, if you look at all of the things that have thus far been created by Blacks, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how many were stolen and how many, just if you find the ones who were given credit for what they did, how many there are. So don't let your vision fall by the wayside. Come on out, join AXO, and let's help your vision become a fruition.
All right. Well, thank you. And you are so right. I had mentioned that earlier, that when you look back at the Carter G. Woodsons and you look back at the George Washington Carvers, they didn't want them to read or write. And these guys went on to be phenomenal. And if you think about all the Black people, even down to the rodeos, and even down to the horse racing.
Yes, the jockeys.
Were all Black until they decided that they're going to be getting paid a substantial amount of money. Well, no, we can't have them be jockeys anymore.
Right.
Even though they were training the horses, they were the best there was, and so we have always been the best. So I get a little, a little annoyed when these people keep thinking that affirmative action is giving us an opportunity. No, it's giving you an opportunity because you never met the grade. They just shovel you on through. You never had to compete with anybody. Okay? If you had to compete, even our people who couldn't read or write could outperform you.
Yes,
because that's how smart we were. So anyway, I'm going to be nice. I'm getting ready to close out the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Georgia Allen. I'm GA for Just Is every single week at 12 noon. We do try to have an interesting guest on that can kind of share some things with the community. I want to thank Juanita. She popped up while we were talking.
I saw that.
So Juanita, thank you for listening in, and please send this out far and wide. And I'm looking for Henderson to get ready to come back on the screen shortly. And we're going to do this again next week and the week after that. So if you know someone who can share with us things that will be contributing to the well-being of the community, things that will help us to unify, things that will help us as we go through these various Kwanzaa principles, by all means, share with others, because I'm going to do for the first 9 months, all month long, is unity, Umoja, all month long.
I love it.
All right. With some of these closing words, as one a great professor that told me, how many times have you ever known a white person to be called a boy? The original cowboys are Black. So, but they ain't gonna let you know that. It's in a book. But thank you so much. It's the end of the GA for Justice Thursday show. community activist and her guests. Don't forget to tune in. Share this with other people on your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, all the social outlets. Until next Thursday at 12 to 1, you've been watching GA for Justice with your community activist, Miss Georgia Allen. Until next Thursday. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.